kind of doing some really good things in the portal. They get the Jamari Maclin kid, the wide receiver from North Texas, formerly at Missouri, 57 catches a year ago, 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns. Also adding Chip Traynum, okay, 300 or about 400 yards of total offense this year, okay, and then 3 touchdowns. But man, they got Brock Vandagriff, Raymond Contrell. They've done a really good job in the portal so far with their portal additions.
I'm in love with this class that they put together. And today it almost blindsided me because like I was kind of hearing some of the other locations that Maclin could have ended up at. And then I was like, whoa, he picked Kentucky. Wow. It's a really fun spot for him to end up at. And I look at this whole class, they're completely revamping their offense. Since I think 2 years ago was the last time that their offense felt really dangerous. They didn't have a lot of receivers this past year that were threats. They didn't have, a consistent quarterback. Devin Leary was all over the place. I think with Brock Vandagriff, adding him into the mix, it reminds me of getting Will Levis. This is a former highly recruited kid that just could not get onto the field because there were more talented guys or more experienced guys.
It's a great comp.
And I think physically there are some comparisons to be made. He's a big, strong kid. He's got a great frame. He's got an NFL frame. We could see a bit of an ascension here for Brock Vandagriff. But Maclin, explosive, productive receiver from North Texas, one who was not talked about enough when he entered the portal. Cottrell is a nice add as well. I love that with Ray Davis, you transition from this, this twitchy, powerful guy in Ray Davis to now getting you're getting a bowling ball with Chip Traynum. I think this is just they know what they want, and I think that the trend is in a positive direction. I tell you what, the way that we look at the playoff is going to be very different this offseason. Pay attention. I don't know what their schedule is like this upcoming year.
You took my take. We're on the same page here. You took my take on Kentucky because, Joe, I do think that the second team in the East is open. Can they battle for Missouri there? And can the second team in the SEC East make the playoff? Right? Like, I could make the argument, whether you like it or not. So, for an example, we talk about the SEC West all the time. There could have been an argument that the SEC West should have gotten in Bama, Ole Miss, and LSU because you would have had to have a really big debate on your hands. Hey, LSU is 9-3, but they beat a Missouri team who did not challenge themselves in the non-conference. There's a little bit of opening behind Georgia. No one is solidifying that. Missouri's going to have to continue to contain that. They get a good back in Marcus Carroll from Georgia State. I think that was a fantastic pickup. But all I'm saying is, I like what they're doing. I think Vandagriff's got some ability. I like the Will Levis comp as well. But here's another thing, man. We talked about Florida a couple days ago, right? Like, hey, man, Florida, Georgia used to be those twos. Florida and Tennessee used to battle back and forth for who's going to win the SEC East. But, man, Joe, Florida next year has Georgia, at Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State in the last month. It is the most brutal stretch of any team in the country. That is the most brutal stretch you will find. So I say all that to say, like, everybody's like, oh, well, year 3, Billy Napier, what can he do? He ain't doing shit.
We're losing divisions in 2024, right?
We are.
Okay.
We are. But let me see this. Yeah, Georgia at Texas at LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State. So you can't even put Florida in that question mark, right? Like, you can't throw Florida in to what we see, and especially with the portal additions of Kentucky. And then you got Tennessee, where they got Nico. What does he look like? There's nothing outside of Georgia in the SEC East that you know for a fact right now on December 13th, 2023, the year of our Lord, who's going to take that second spot. Joe, the second team in the East this year is Missouri. They're in the playoff next year, right? My Missouri Tigers that I picked to be in the second SEC. I'm going to keep saying that until next year, man.
I can't stand
Kentucky
doing that.
Dude, and here, you know what another thing is? You know what the first thing I thought about when Maclin committed today? Remember when Stoops went up to the podium, or not the podium, but the radio show and said, y'all want to win? Y'all want to compete with Georgia? You got to give me more money.
Mm.
And you know what they're doing? So Stoops almost leaves for A&M because he knows what he's got to get here. He's tired of dealing with getting his teeth kicked in, right? I want to be competitive at minimum. Like, hey, I know basketball is the number one thing at Kentucky. I need money to compete. Getting the Maclin kid is massive for them.
That I think is a really good point here. Is that
That's a really good point? I made it.
All right. They might be entering a completely new era here for Kentucky football, because there was this gripe by the fan base that Stoops can't get us over the hump. And then he comes back and says, well, I need the bread, man. I need the money. You guys got to give me the money. And I completely forgot he said that. And my main takeaway from this was there's clearly now more of a commitment to the portal and paying and making some moves to bring these guys in. I see far more of a commitment by Kentucky that we haven't gotten from them over the past couple of off seasons. I'd be curious to see who else they maybe add. I'd love to see if they can add any of the top linemen that are still available, but still, this is fantastic. This is huge for them. And as we've mentioned here, the portal, or not the portal, the playoff looks so different in 2024. There are so many different ways that I would argue the fourth best SEC team, as long as they've got 9 wins, could find their way in the playoff. Yeah,
might get in. You got 3 in right now, right? And as an example, like LSU lost to Florida State week 1. If they don't do that, let's just say, they play USC. There's no telling what USC is going to be next year. Let's say they don't lose that week 1 game. You're going to have 4 SEC teams in the playoff. Can one of those be Kentucky? That'd be the only question that you would have. All right.
BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions, with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.